Configuring the PlanetScale CLI in a headless environment. Hey everyone, my name is Brian Morrison and I'm on the developer education team here at PlanetScale. Today we're going to take a look at 3 different ways that you can authenticate the PlanetScale CLI against the service in order to manage your databases in a headless environment where you don't have access to a browser. We're going to start by authenticating with the pscale auth login command, but instead of opening a browser immediately, you're instead going to copy and paste the link off into a different browser outside of your terminal session. And then we're going to end with 2 separate ways that you can authenticate using service tokens. 1 directly through command line parameters, and 2 using environment variables. Let's take a look. I'm logged into an Ubuntu virtual machine hosted in AWS, and the only thing I currently have installed is the pscale CLI. I can test the version, or to at least demonstrate that I have it installed, by typing pscale and using the version flag. And you can see this version is 0.140.0. So if you're familiar with working with the PlanetScale CLI locally on your machine, you'll know that the command to log in is pscale auth login. Now, typically when you hit enter on this, the browser window will open for you and present the code that's displayed on here, in my case, the code starting with VCB, inside your browser so you can accept and confirm that you are indeed trying to log into this specific device. However, since this is a headless machine, there's no browser installed or no way for me to visually access the PlanetScale dashboard in order to confirm that this device should be linked to my account. But what we can do is we can copy this link here and go to a browser on any machine where we log into PlanetScale and authorize that way. So let's hop over to the browser and we'll do that now. I'm logged into the PlanetScale dashboard already, and I've pasted that link into the browser, and you can see the device confirmation code is being displayed. It starts with VCB, and it matches the code displayed inside my terminal from the remote session. So I'll go ahead and click Confirm Code, and now it says your device is all set. Let's hop back over to the terminal and take a look at the CLI to see what happened. So instead of showing the loading indicator, we can now see that we are successfully logged in, and if I use a command like pscale dbls to list out the databases available in my account, we have one database named BookingsDB, which will match what is displayed inside of the PlanetScale dashboard. Now, the second 2 ways that we can use the PlanetScale CLI in a headless environment is by means of service tokens. A service token in PlanetScale is a way to authenticate with PlanetScale without using a username and password, and is designed specifically to be used in environments where you cannot log into the system on a regular basis. So in order to create a service token, I'm logged into the PlanetScale dashboard. I'm going to click on the Settings tab, and then select Service Tokens from the left-hand side. I'm going to click Create New Service Token, and let's give the service token a name. And click Create Service Token. Now you'll be shown an ID along with the token. Now it's important to know that while the ID can be retrieved after the fact, the token itself is only displayed in this specific step. This is a security best practice to prevent anyone from retrieving the token later down the road. Typically, if you forget your token or lose it, you would delete this token and then generate a new one. After you've copied your ID and token, click on Continue to Token Permissions. Service tokens have granular permissions, and they are only able to perform operations you grant them to on both an organization level as well as each individual database that it belongs to that organization. In the demo here, we're going to perform the same operations where we just list out the databases and perhaps the branches inside that databases. So I'm going to click a button that says Add a Database. BookingsDB is the only database I have available in this account, so it's selected by default. And then typically you'd want to read through each of these individual permissions and only select the ones that are absolutely necessary. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to go ahead and select all of these, scroll down to the bottom, and click Save Permissions. And now that our service token has been created and configured, let's go back to the terminal and see how we can use it. So the second way in which you can use the PlanetScale CLI in an headless environment, as stated, is using service tokens. The way we would use these is to append the service token and service token ID as command line arguments when executing your commands. So to demonstrate this using the same ls command we did earlier, I'll type in pscale dbls, and then I will type _service token, and we will paste in the service token that we retrieved from the previous step. And then I will also type in service token ID and paste in the ID that was retrieved in the previous step as well. Now, when you authenticate using the pscale auth login command, it will automatically set your PlanetScale organization name as part of the configuration file that is saved. However, in this instance, we aren't necessarily using the PlanetScale configuration file, so we have to provide the organization ourselves. I'll type in _org, and then the name of my organization is ps-deved, and I'll hit enter. And you can see we have the bookings DB displayed just as we did in the previous method of authentication. Now, typically, if you're working in an environment where you need to run automation scripts and you want those scripts to be stored as part of some sort of repository for collaboration, you generally don't want to save all of your commands with the service token and service token ID. Not only is it poor security practice, it also is kind of a pain in order to have to type in the service token and ID with every single command you want to type. So the final way that we'll demonstrate how to use the CLI in a headless environment is by exporting the service token ID, and org name as environment variables inside your session. This will ultimately depend on what kind of shell you're using in your specific environment. Since I'm using bash in this Ubuntu machine, my configuration file is located at .bashrc in my home directory, so I will nano that file to edit it, and then I'll scroll all the way down to the bottom. Now, since service token and service token ID are typically pretty generic names for environment variables, the way that the PlanetScale CLI is configured is to recognize any environment variable that has the prefix of PlanetScale and try to use those environment variables when it executes commands. So what we'll need to do is export PlanetScale underscore service token ID, and we're going to set this to the service token ID that we set up in the previous step. I'll export PlanetScale service token and set that value to the service token. And then finally, we can export PlanetScale org, like so, and set that to ps-debit. Next, I will type in source and then bash rc to update our current session. And then finally, I can just type in pscale dbls and hit enter. And I don't longer have to provide the service token ID, and org name in order to utilize that service token, because now it is part of my environment variables. After watching this video, you should have a good understanding on how to use the PlanetScale CLI in headless environments using the 3 different ways to authenticate we described. For more information on how to use PlanetScale, go to planetscale.com and check out our blog and documentation portal where we're adding new content all the time. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.